I know it's been a while since we did one of these, and because really fell into the Halo universe, like the lore and theory. I've been like watching their videos back to back, and I haven't really got to one of these, so I do apologize. But now we're back for another Republic history video. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. So far I've been watching. I watched 3 Republic history videos, and I did a little research. So basically, Geetsley, I forgot how to pronounce his name. Basically for the Republic history videos, he's only done 12 of them, while in the Sith history reaction videos, by the way, they're all on my channel, he did 15 of them. So there's a few videos on Republic history compared to the Sith history. So that means we got 8 more to go, including this one. So I'm really excited to what happens next. This one is called the Republic's First Civil War. So let's take a look at why there was a civil war. So without anything else, let's get into it.
The Clone Wars tore the Galactic Republic apart on an unprecedented scale due to the secession of countless thousands of member systems. Before that, the Republic had largely ruled the galaxy undisputed for thousands of years, with the only major exceptions most fans know of being during the wars with the Sith. But was the Clone Wars the first civil war the Republic faced? The answer, in fact, is no. In this 4th installment of our Republic History series, we're going to be taking a look at the first civil war that split the Republic and why the galaxy was never the same again.
Alright, I'm excited to see like what the civil war was.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Now, it's been a hot second since we've done a video in this series, so you might need a quick bit of a recap before we begin. If that's the case, or
man, it's like you read my
watched
mind. Like I really was absent for a while.
We recommend you go and watch the first 3 now. In our first video, we discussed the Unification Wars and the formation of the Republic. In the second, we discussed how the Jedi joined the Republic and their first major clash with the dark side. And in the third, we discussed the Tyon Cluster and the Republic's first war. When we last left off in this series, we discussed the Tynese War and the subsequent integration of the Tyon Cluster into the Republic, as well as the end of the first chapter of Republic history. By the end of the expansionist era, the Republic had fully explored and incorporated large swaths of the core worlds, the colonies, and the Inner Rim, and was developing further out into the galactic disk along the Polemian trade route and the Corellian Run. With the conquest of the Tyon Cluster, the Republic stretched out far into the Rim along the Polemian Run, and by 20,000 BBY, the Corellian Run had been heavily developed as well. At that point in time, explorers were instead turning their attention to the wide chunk of space between the 2 routes, a region nicknamed the Slice. Starting in 20,000 BBY, scouts began pouring into the Slice, heralding the beginning of a new chapter in Republic history, the Great Manifest Period. This period saw the Republic expand dramatically, both in astrographic and bureaucratic terms. It was during this period that many of the Republic's most infamous flaws, including its massively convoluted bureaucratic process and constant Senate gridlock, began to take root, as Republic space was expanding faster than the Senate could keep up with it. As a result,
so
many
expansion
sectors were
is
far
what caused
larger
it.
than they were legally supposed to be, limiting representation for newer colonies. This era also saw the creation of the Bureau of Ships and Services in 18,000 BBY, a powerful organization that controlled hyperspace navigation across the entirety of galactic civilization. Galactic exploration during the Great Manifest period was largely pushed by 3 powerful core worlds in particular: Coruscant, Alsacan, and Corellia. Coruscant, the Republic capital and hub of galactic civilization, coordinated the exploration of the Slice from the Corellian Run, of which it was the endpoint, discovering many new species and welcoming them into the Republic. Corellia pushed into the wild space south of the core, while Alsacan funded colonization efforts northwards from the Polemian trade spine. Significant cultural differences emerged between the worlds explored by Alsacan, those explored by Coruscant, and those explored by Corellia, resulting in the early Republic developing not as one civilization, but as 3. By the end of the Great Manifest period,
I see
shortly
where this is
before
going.
17,000 BBY, the Republic was significantly larger than it had been at the end of the expansionist era. However, it was beginning to fracture as a result of these tensions. Alsacan, the home of a proud people with a distinct culture, had been Coruscant's biggest rival in the years before the Republic. They had wanted the Republic to be more of a confederation, a looser union than it eventually became, fearing their culture would be lost otherwise. As the Great Manifest period went on and the Republic became more consolidated and bureaucratic, the Alsekani began to see these fears coming true. Alsekan itself was becoming just another stop on the Polemian, a rest point between Coruscant and Anaxis. As a result, Alsekan was constantly trying to upstage Coruscant, dominating colonization efforts along the Polemian trade route, which the Alsekani called the Axis. Alsekani explorers pushed the borders of wild space in the slice southwards, discovering worlds like Seleucami and Laurel, and they also funded northwards expansion of the Republic, colonizing Palanhi, Bogdan, Obraskai, and Sirocco. That latter region, the northern dependencies, became particularly loyal to Alsekan, and many Polemian worlds, including the Tyon cluster, came to reflect Alsekani views on the Republic as well. Coruscant, meanwhile, took advantage of the expansion of the Corellian run, which by that point stretched out to Mon Gaza in the Mid-Rim, and had reached the vital trade worlds of Cherba and Pakwapor Minor as well. The Grand Companies, a group of corporations on Coruscant and Coruscant loyal worlds along the Spin, the stretch of the Corellian run between Corellia and Coruscant, dominated the colonization process, which they used to exploit newly discovered worlds. From Mon Gaza, Coruscanti and Corellian explorers pushed into the Outer Rim, discovering Geonosis, Shimba, and Manda in the space beyond the end of the run. They also made contact with other spacefaring civilizations, including the Bothans and the Lanik.
Hey, the Bothans.
More importantly, however, they pushed northwards into the slice, opening up the expansion region and then the Mid-Rim.
So basically, they
Thousands of
expanded
worlds were
faster than they
discovered
could
by
control.
the Coruscant-backed scout ships, with notable ones including Umbara, Belasco, Telti, Cerilia, and New Absalon. Many of the worlds discovered in the expansion region were rich in natural resources, and so the Grand Companies took control of these planets and began stripping them. Critics began calling one particular swath of the expansion region the exploitation region because of how badly the corporations were treating the systems there. Indeed, many of the worlds were exploited so badly that they were rendered unable to support life and were subsequently abandoned. By the time of the Clone Wars, the exploitation region was considered dead space, with few habitable worlds and even fewer hyperspace routes left in the area. Corellia, meanwhile, just kind of did its own thing south of the Corellian run. It, too, had significant cultural influence over the Republic, with a stretch of the run known as the 77 sectors, and pretty much all systems south of the route taking after Corellia on most matters. Unlike Alsekan though, it wasn't really bothered by the Republic expansion or Coruscant's growing dominance. The Corellians just stuck to doing what they did best, exploring. As Coruscant began to slowly take over the Corellian run, the Corellians began forging a new hyperspace route, the Corellian Trade Spine, which they extended from its former endpoint at Deveron far out into wild space. They settled the region between the run and the Trade Spine, and they also pushed out into the southern core, eventually coming up against the borders of the Herglic
Hey, I
Trade
can see
Empire.
Hoth.
By the end of the 17,000s, exploration was beginning to slow down, and the Great Manifest period was coming to a close. This heightened tensions between Alsekan and Coruscant as the Republic began to seek greater authority over Alsekani colonies. Things finally came to a head in 17,018 BBY, when Alsekan and its allies sent fleets south into the expansion region, claiming several resource-rich systems and blocking the Grand Company's expansion path. The Grand Company sent a fleet of heavily armed Duros merchant freighters in response, which opened fire on the Alsekani warships above several colonies. The Republic, following Coruscant's lead, resolved to officially support the Duros, and a civil war began. Thus, the Great Manifest period came to an end, and the Indecta era began, starting with the first Alsekan conflict. In total, there were 17 Alsekan conflicts between 17,018 BBY and 3,017 BBY, though we'll only be discussing the first two today. These were the first civil wars faced by the Republic, though they weren't the sort of civil war we're familiar with. Instead of drawn-out campaigns and extended periods of bloody infighting, the Alsekan conflicts mostly consisted of saber rattling, with a few notable battles here and there. The Republic largely continued on as usual during them, with the many neutral systems serving as bridges between the warring parties and thus leaving business mostly unaffected. The first Alsacan conflict saw
Sounds very peaceful
clashes between various Republic fleets and Alsacani warships, beginning with the Republic invasion of Virajansi, a world that, at the time, was occupied by Alsacan. The Republic successfully captured Virajansi, but Alsacan reclaimed the world in a second battle 6 years later, from which its warships would continue to launch raids on the exploitation region. After the battles of Virajansi, what started as a small-scale conflict between Alsacan and Coruscant's Spin allies dragged more and more systems into it, with the northernmost parts of the civilized galaxy largely siding with Alsacan and the rest of the Republic siding with Coruscant. Corellia, however, remained neutral, and the parts of the Republic south of the Corellian Run sided with it, forming the Corellian hegemony. There was only one full-scale battle in this centuries-long first Alsacan conflict, the Battle of Kess in 16,921 BBY, an orbital clash above the Sol system unfortunate enough to lie between Coruscant and Alsacan on the Polemian. That battle ended in a draw, as orbital minefields made
you can see how it's like half red, half blue,
thwarting Republic plans to attack Alsacan directly and end the conflict. 40 years later, Republic-backed merchant fleets besieged the Alsacani colony of Porus Vita, ultimately conquering the world for the Republic. The Alsacani responded in kind in around 16,800 BBY with the siege of Belasco, an unsuccessful attempt to conquer what was then one of the most crucial hyperspace junctions in the expansion region. The first Alsacan conflict dragged on like a crappy hollow drama the producers just wouldn't cancel, ending in 16,700 BBY only because the Bureau of Ships and Services threatened to withhold navigational data from warships if it didn't. Coruscant and Alsacan worked out the Chalet Compromise in a bid to diminish tensions, which granted established Republic worlds more power in the Senate. This brought peace for a little while, but it also worsened the Senate corruption, which in turn led to war breaking out again just 500 years later.
Hey, 500 years is still a long time.
The second Alsacan conflict picked up where the first had left off, with the Alsacani attempting a second siege of Porus Vita in about 16,100 BBY, unsuccessfully trying to reclaim their lost colony. The Republic responded by pressing its advantage, beginning the Geyser campaign, which advanced from Porus Vita toward Geyser, an Alsacani stronghold on the Polemian. The Republic made some gains, but the Alsacani still managed to maintain control of Geyser itself in a series of skirmishes that concluded the campaign in 16,000 BBY. Most of the second Alsacan conflict consisted of an arms race, with a period of 400 years having no notable battles or clashes of any kind. This period ended about 15,600 years before the Battle of Yavin, with Alsacan's core campaigns, in which fleets of Alsacani warships advanced toward Republic-held Coruscant, Skako, and Komeno. Alsacan was quickly pushed back by Republic forces at Skako and Komeno, and the Republic kept the Alsacani from attacking Coruscant in a battle at Belgoth's Beacon, a historical site that was one of the Republic's first hyperspace beacons. Belgoth's Beacon was destroyed in the battle, becoming one of the many historical treasures that, regrettably, would be lost in the conflicts. Shortly afterwards, in 15,500 BBY, the second Alsacan conflict was put on pause when hyperspace scouts discovered Dweenalgwyn, a reptilian species commonly known as star dragons, near Mokana in the Tyon cluster. Upon encountering a race of 50-meter-long dragon-like creatures that could survive in space and breathe atomic fire, the scouts naturally freaked out, unintentionally starting the Dweenalgwyn contention. The scouts ran all the way back to Coruscant, and hundreds of star dragons followed. They ravaged Galactic City, but Supreme Chancellor Felorian was able to put a stop to this destruction and negotiate peace with the star dragon philosopher Bors Mator. The contention ended with the star dragons peacefully acknowledging the Republic, and the second Alsacan conflict continued, though not for long. The last major strike in the second conflict
thought there would have been
was
dragons.
the Strontium raid of 15,480 BBY, in which Alsacan attempted to capture Abian, a Republic-loyal world on the Polemian. The strike was unsuccessful and the second Alsacan conflict fizzled out in around 15,400 BBY. As the Indector era came to a close around 15,000 BBY, tensions from the Second Alsacane conflict still simmered. These two conflicts were the first civil wars the Republic ever faced, but not the last. Alsacane and Coruscant would continue to clash, leading to long-standing prejudices and rivalries to develop between their worlds. Some of these prejudices would later blossom into conflicts of the Clone Wars, the long-term consequence of the first Alsacani secessions. As the Republic continued to expand, the Alsacane conflicts continued, even as explorers from both Alsacane and Coruscant began to reach the borders of another civilization out in the unknown, the Hutt Empire. We'll talk about all of that and more next week in our video on the history of the Republic. But what do you think? Would you have supported the merchant fleets of Coruscant, the ancient seppies of Alsacane, or their isolationist Corellians? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comment.
All right, another great episode of Republic History. So the next one, I already have it listed. The next one, he will be talking about like the Hutt's dark plot to conquer the Republic. So I'm really excited to see what happens in the next episode. So it's definitely going to be talking about the Hutt Empire, basically their history, where they came from, and how they became a huge threat. Because if you look at the like movies and the Clone Wars, the Hutts really became a powerful cartel, and they controlled like a huge chunk of the Outer Rim. So maybe this will explain like their origins and like how they came to be. But either way, another great video. Geetsley did an amazing job as usual, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the next video. So again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my reaction to this video. I'm sorry if I was quiet most of the time, but like I said, when I pay attention, I'm just usually quiet. So that's how it is. But again, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed my reaction. Keep an eye out for more content. Check out my other videos I have on my channel. And again, thank you guys so much for your continued support in this channel. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have any other information about Republic history, put it down in the comments below. And if you have any other videos you guys want me to check out, put it in the comments below, and I'll make note of it. But either way, I hope you guys are having an amazing day or night wherever you guys are, and I'll see you guys next time.